So, what if I told you that almost everything we think we know about success is wrong? Today, we're diving into the fascinating ideas from Malcolm Gladwell's book, Outliers, to uncover the hidden story of what it really takes to be exceptional.
You know the story, right? The self-made hero who rises up from nothing with just sheer talent and grit. We all love that story. But Gladwell comes along and basically says, nope, that's a myth. Success, he argues, is almost never a solo act.
He calls these incredibly successful people outliers. And their stories, well, they're way more complex and, frankly, more interesting than we ever imagine. As we're about to see, their success often has less to do with what's in them and a whole lot more to do with what was around them.
All right, so our first stop on this journey to rethink success is a Canadian hockey rink. I know, it sounds a bit random, but trust me, it's here that we find the first big clue that the traditional success story is just off. There's a really weird pattern here that has absolutely nothing to do with individual talent.
So when psychologists started analyzing the rosters of Canada's elite junior hockey teams, they found something bizarre. It was this undeniable pattern that just kept showing up again and again. It wasn't about skill, it was all about their birthdays. Just take a look at the birth dates from this one team. You've got January 4th, January 21st, February 14th. You seeing it yet? A huge, disproportionate number of these top players are born right at the beginning of the year. So, what in the world is going on?
Now, it's not astrology, I promise. It all comes down to a simple, kind of arbitrary rule. In Canada, the eligibility cutoff for these age-class hockey leagues is January 1st. Now think about that for a second. A kid who turns 10 on January 2nd is playing in the same league as a kid who is still 9 and won't turn 10 until the end of December.
And why does that matter so much? Because when you're 9 or 10, a nearly 12-month age gap is a massive physical advantage. So the slightly older, bigger kids get noticed. They get selected for the elite rep teams. Then they get the better coaches, way more ice time, and play more games. So this tiny initial advantage just snowballs. It gets layered with opportunity over and over until they don't just start out a little bigger, they become genuinely better players.
There's actually a name for this phenomenon. Sociologists call it the Matthew effect. It's basically the idea that success becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Those who get a little bit ahead are given the special opportunities that let them get way ahead, while everyone else kind of gets left in the dust. You know, the rich get richer.
And this idea, that opportunity, is what creates success. It goes way beyond the hockey rink. It's actually the key to achieving true mastery in just about any field. Which brings us to a concept you've probably heard of, the 10,000-hour rule.
You see, psychologists who study experts in all kinds of fields, I'm talking virtuoso violinists, chess grandmasters, you name it, they kept finding this magic number for true mastery, 10,000 hours. That's the amount of practice that comes up again and again and again.
Let's talk about the Beatles. We think their big break was getting a record deal, right? Well, Gladwell says their real break was a gig they landed in Hamburg, Germany. The clubs there demanded non-stop performing, sometimes for 8 hours straight, 7 nights a week. It was an incredibly rare opportunity to just play and play and play, clocking an insane number of hours before anyone even knew their name.
Or think about Bill Gates. You gotta remember, back in 1968, most colleges didn't even have a computer club. But Gates's private high school, through a whole series of lucky breaks, got access to a rare, time-sharing computer, and he got near unlimited access to program on it. That was his Hamburg.
And here is the crucial point. It wasn't just that they were brilliant or that they were willing to practice. Of course they were. But for both the Beatles and Bill Gates, getting to that 10,000-hour mark was pretty much impossible without the unique, almost miraculous set of circumstances that gave them the opportunity to put in all that work.
Okay, so opportunity and practice. Got it. But come on, you still have to be a certified genius to begin with, right? You need that raw brain power? Well, Gladwell's next point might actually surprise you.
I want you to meet Christopher Langan. His IQ is estimated to be around 195. Just to put that into perspective, Albert Einstein's was about 150. Langan has literally been called the smartest man in America.
And yet, despite that incredible intellect, Langan's life hasn't really followed the path you'd expect. He's worked as a bouncer and on a farm, and this raises a critical question. What if raw intelligence isn't the golden ticket to success we all think it is?
This brings us to something called the threshold effect. Research shows that while a higher IQ is definitely beneficial, it's only up to a point, around 120 or so.
After that, the benefits just plateau. Having an IQ of 150 doesn't really give you a significant real-world advantage over someone with an IQ of 120.
Gladwell uses a perfect analogy for this. He says IQ is like height in basketball. You have to be tall enough to play professionally. You're probably not making the NBA if you're 5'2". But once you're past that tall enough threshold, say 6'6", being a few inches taller doesn't automatically make you a better player. Other skills become way more important.
And if you need more proof, just look at where Nobel Prize winners went to college. They don't all come from Harvard or MIT. They come from all over the place. They were all smart enough to get into a good school, and once they cleared that good enough threshold, other factors took over.
So, if success isn't just about individual merit, about being the smartest or the most talented, then what is it about? It's time to put all these pieces together.
It's really a complex recipe. Yes, of course, talent and hard work matter, but so do all these other things we so often ignore. The hidden advantages, your cultural legacy, those extraordinary opportunities, and even simple dumb luck, like when and where you happen to be born.
This really requires a huge shift in perspective. Outliers aren't just products of their own amazing abilities. They're products of their environment, their history, and their community. Their success isn't just their own.
Gladwell uses this really powerful analogy of a forest. To understand why one oak tree is the tallest, you can't just look at the acorn it came from. You have to look at the entire forest, the quality of the soil, how much sunlight it got, all the lucky breaks that allowed it to grow to its full potential.
And this leaves us with a pretty profound final thought. If outliers aren't born but are made through this combination of talent and opportunity, then the real question isn't, how do I become successful, but rather, how do we as a society create a world where more people get the chances they need to become the tallest oaks in the forest? And that reframes the entire question, doesn't it? It turns success from a personal puzzle into a collective challenge for all of us.